for the Digital Digest, your weekly breakfast of insights, tips and tricks, and general information that will help anyone trying to move things forward in this digital world of accounting. Today, we're diving into one of the articles in our latest newsletter, which was all about the OpenTax product by AdSum and the release of corporation tax. And I'm delighted to be joined by Amy Hancock from Hancock and Hastings. That I've hopefully got the name of the firm right. That's a nod. So that's good. And we're going to dive in together because Amy uses the platform. So I'm going to be not grilling her, but asking her questions on how she uses it and the benefits. So, but first, for some context, Amy, can you talk a little bit about the firm and size, clientele, etc.?
Yeah, so thank you for having me. So I'm Amy Hancock. I run Hancock and Hastings Accountants and Auditors. We're based in Bedfordshire. We've got 5 employees, and we generally deal with the small business owners, but also have an audit side, so deal with the medium-sized businesses on the audit perspective. So we have a range of clients of various different industries. I tend to attract a lot in construction. So just into, I haven't needed to niche, but I just kind of ended up with that. So we tend to do everything for those kind of clients.
Oh, cool. And so, what's, I guess, the estimate? We never know. I never know when I'm in a accounting firm the total number of clients we've got. But what's a broad number of clients you interact with?
Yes, I've got about 80 limited companies and then about 150 sole traders.
Okay.
So the MTDIT is going to be very busy for me getting everyone set up for that. So yeah, I have quite a range, but they all seem to be on the smaller side. As businesses grow and go into the audit perspective, that's when I go into the audit and can only do audit because I'm a sole practitioner.
Yeah, it makes sense. And look, you've got quite a broad spectrum there. Like, as a relatively small firm, sometimes you just stay with small clients, but you're dealing with quite a breadth of size and scale. And my experience of working with those in the construction sector is that they're not really got their finger on the pulse in what they're supposed to be doing regarding compliance, regarding payments. And so they need a lot of assistance from their accountant, proactive assistance in telling them when they should be paying, what they should be paying. And I assume you experience that a lot.
Yes, daily.
Yeah. So, let's dive into the OpenTax product then. Can you give a bit of a summary for anyone that's not come across it before of what it is and how it operates?
So OpenTax is a platform that links with your HMRC agent services account and agent account to pull in your clients and their deadlines and their amounts that are due to HMRC. So we looked at it initially because as a sole practitioner, I get the calls, I get the messages, I get the WhatsApps of when is this due, even though you do tell them continuously, VAT is a month and 7 days. But every quarter you seem to kind of get that. And the same with PAYE. So I started looking at AdSum really to help us get that information quicker. So everyone will know on their agent account, you've got to click into the service, then you've got to find the client, then you've got to click into the client and you see the list there. And then you've got to then click on it's continuous. Whereas this OpenTax platform is all your clients listed, the amounts, the due dates, and you can filter it to what you wanted. So initially it was for VAT and PAYE to enable me to find the information quicker.
Yeah, and as I guess we covered in the article, now they've brought in corporation tax. They're growing the spectrum of things that are covered. And yeah, I mean, let's be honest, HMRC are not known for a great user experience. It's generally horribly painful whenever you interact with their platform. But the other beautiful thing that I like, and this may be not something that affects you, Amy, but when I've been working in a bigger firm, is you end up with quite a few agent services accounts, maybe from a merger, or something's gone as we had before, something's gone wrong and another one's just appeared. But you can bring them all together into the single source of truth, which is OpenTax, which is helpful.
Yeah, so you only then need to have that one login and not having to log out and log in. You still got to go through that feedback thing at the end when you log out and I fed back 10 minutes ago. So it's definitely speeding up the access time and I can see the benefit in the bigger practices, like you say, with all of their different logins and whatnot in one place.
Yeah, and started on VAT. moved to POA. Are you using the POA element quite heavily now?
Yes, the only thing that I am conscious of is obviously HMRC is coming from HMRC, and HMRC have that time lag. And
Yes.
I find that more with the PAYE side. I mean, there's nothing that OpenTax can do about that. Um, they're feeding in from HMRC. So we've just got to be a bit conscious of that. And I do find that as well, HMRC, I have clients on quarterly, clients on monthly, clients don't know which one they're in. And there seems to be a time lag on that as well. So just conscious looking at it that we've got that time lag. But yeah, definitely for the PAYE side, it's surprising how many of my clients, when I first looked at it, were overdue.
Yeah.
And it would be little amounts overdue. But to be able to see that on the HMRC platform, you've got to click into different things, but it's there, black and white on OpenTax.
Yeah, and drillable. Like you can go down, you can kind of see the individual, period that and whether anything's outstanding. The only bit I've said to them, right, which has always been my pain with HMRC, is at some point they just start misallocating. Then they start moving transactions about in the reallocation thing, and trying to, I guess, get down to the nitty gritty of that is painful. And I don't believe the OpenTax product resolves that yet, but I know that's something that since I mentioned it, that we'd love to kind of try and give more visibility around how they're moving or misallocating payments against liabilities.
It's when it's month after month, year after year, and you've got
Yeah,
a little amount, then it's just knocking off and knocking
just
off. So you
feeding.
can't actually see what's been paid, and you're constantly clicking between the years. Um, I mean, again, it's probably an HMRC thing that they need to give us the ability to reallocate, I suppose,
Yeah,
within reason. But
of
it would
course.
save a lot of manpower on their side.
Yeah, and look, the VAT system is more modern. It's built. It's, I guess, probably the newest area. That the HMRC have built out. Whereas the POA is ancient now in times of tech. So I think they'd have to probably restructure that. So yeah, as you say, whatever system integrates in, such as OpenTax, you're always going to have some limitations. But
Mm.
how do you then, from a day-to-day perspective, interact with the OpenTax system?
So whenever there's a query, so I get daily queries about what's due when, especially because we do VAT and PAYE. Um, so I initially go into there rather than going to the HMRC platform now, to get amounts and to get due dates for clients. But also when OpenTax opened the ability for clients to have their own access, it has reduced the contact with me. I mean, initially it took a bit of time to go, no, this is a real thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go
Like
and have a look. Yeah,
they've got the invite. This is a real thing. You can go and see it yourself. So although I'm still getting the questions from people, it tends to be not as much. I have seen a bit of an impact already. And I think as corporation taxes come in as well, that in particular, because I tried to
yeah,
tend to do corporation tax returns and year-end accounts quite quickly after the year end. People forget. They don't want to be paying early. They want to get what little interest they can from their bank accounts. And then as it's getting closer to the time of due date, they're like, what do I need to do? Or some of them don't even contact me. They forget about it. So at least if they've got their own access and that's prompting them,
yep.
then it reduces the need to contact me. I mean, I want to talk to my clients, but it's never nice to talk to them about due dates and amounts.
And also, they're waiting for you, right?
Yeah,
They've sent a query, and either they've called it, if they've emailed, then they're having to wait for you to come back to them. Then they have to remember to react at that point where, at that moment in time, they want to know what their liability is and when they need to pay it. And if they've got, let's be honest, it's essentially a client portal, which for
yeah,
ages as firms we've been like, oh, we want to create a great client portal for our clients, which is useful for them. Well, where they can go and find what their liabilities are
yeah,
at any given point and their due dates. That's quite powerful.
yeah,
So yeah, I think from that perspective, I can massively see the benefit. And I know firms, larger firms, where they've basically got a junior member of staff that every month has to go through all of their clients, see what liabilities are still outstanding, and then send an email to them because they want to be proactive and make sure the client pays. So they're looking kind of 9 months in arrears each time, going, just a reminder, in case you haven't paid, this is the liability you need to pay. And the amount of time that that sucks up that this system in itself would resolve, I think is insane. And it feels so simple, right? Like,
Yeah,
why have we not had this for so
I
long? That's
know.
my question.
I know. And actually, you saying that, I'm the one that does that. So and on the 1st of December, with my March year ends, I will sit there and I actually still have a diary note because I haven't removed it now that they've got corporation tax. I can remove it now. But I actually do. And
Excellent.
I sit there and I click into each one. Okay, we're dealing with, I've got like 80 limited companies, but not all of them have March year ends. But yeah, so I'm actually still doing that. So
Yeah.
this is going to save that pain. I have had clients actually come back since using the platform and going, can I just check this amount because it's showing this? And it tends to be the time lag issue. And then I can
Yeah.
explain it, but it just shows they are using it. And yeah, it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I think should just be, the rock of an accountant's platform, right? It's something that, as I said, without really thinking about it, you think, well, why have we not had this for so long? Like, obviously, they must have done some magic. They've come up with a great concept. Sometimes it should be a simple idea, but you go and resolve it, and you think, well, say that accountants had this in place. You'd try and think back to a time when you didn't have it, and it would feel like before you had computers, right? It just feels so much in the dark ages of trying to interact with your clients that the concept and the improvement for how you would have one platform for all your liabilities feels almost too simple.
Yeah, and there'd probably be some argument that, oh, clients should have that on their HMRC login. But I know many
Of
that have
course.
one for VAT, one for PAYE, never forget their usernames and passwords. They want me to have it. And I'm like, no, I don't want it. I've got my own. Please don't make me store them somewhere.
Yeah.
And then there'd be a number that doesn't exist and stuff. And then it's not necessarily easy to see. You've got to scroll down on the HMRC website to see, and it's not punchy at
In your
you. Whereas,
face. Yeah.
whereas with this OpenTax, it's your name at the top, VAT, PAYE, corporation tax on Safari or not just Safari, but on your phone,
There
and
are other
it just
browsers.
shows the amounts and the dates,
Yeah.
and that's all they need. They don't need to then ring me or any other method of communication with me to figure it out.
And this is something I'm not sure I know the answer to. Does it give them the information for how they can make the payment as well, like from inside the system? Like, does it direct them to where they can trigger the payment or give them a reference number?
I don't actually know that. I don't actually know that answer. It will give them the reference numbers because the reference numbers are there. So like for VAT, it has their VAT number, even though from my perspective, it's listed. I've got it listed in client name, VAT number. What it does tell me is if they're on direct debit or not,
Okay.
which is
Well, that's
which is
helpful.
great because
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going through an exercise of encouraging my clients to do that, um,
Yep.
just to make their life easier. And I can just easily just scan down yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And then when I'm informing them of their liabilities, I can say, right, you need to pay by this date, or HMRC will collect on or around this date, because I never get the exact date right that they actually collect the direct debit, even my
Yeah,
own. I never really know when it's coming out. I just like on or around the
yeah.
25th, the
Around this time,
PAYE,
right?
I'm kind of like that. So I'm not sure that they can actually click and then go. I mean,
Well, look, the speed that they're releasing things at, because I know
yeah.
when on the podcast I think first picked up the OpenTax product maybe Q4 last year, and I was intrigued by it. I thought, oh, this is really interesting. No one's really tried to resolve this, and that was just when they'd done VAT, and then PAY is already out, and now corporation tax is out. They're slowly building out across all the taxes and the functionality and the automation. They didn't have the client portal in there previously. Now they've got that. I wouldn't be surprised if they build in payment links and more automation through that side. But
Yeah.
something I did want to ask you about, Amy, and I appreciate you're not using the corporation tax element yet, as it's just been released. But how much time do you think it saves you over maybe the course of a month, the course of a year, just through that, reducing that interaction with your clients?
I mean, I think definitely when we look to December with my March year ends, it's going to save me so much time, because I'm going to be reducing the time going through and looking to see the liabilities, telling people this is your reference, because the reference is going to be on there as well, that they need to make the payment with will be on their platform. So I think on an average month, it will probably save me a couple of hours with the questions that I'm getting for VAT, PAYE and corporation tax. But in those months where there's loads of clients falling due, it could, because everyone wants to then hop on a call and go, oh, I didn't realize my corporation tax bill was that much, because I did
Yeah.
it in June, say.
Yeah, they've
You
forgotten.
just have a chat. Yeah, they've forgotten about it. Oh, I haven't put the money away. What do I do? That kind of thing. So if there is then the links to go through and set up payment, I mean, I don't know. I don't think there is a corporation tax payment plan online yet. I know there is for VAT and PAYE. Taking them to the link to do that, that would save
That would
me
be
more
amazing, wouldn't it?
time. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, I mean, like if we estimate 2 hours a month, we say,
yeah.
like, like £500 a month in chargeable time that you're potentially saving there, then the platform itself, like the return on investment's already huge, because it's not
Yeah.
an expensive platform. It's a
No,
reasonably priced platform.
no, not
So
at all. So I think initially it was going to be, I just had it for a tool for us so we can see things easier and save time with clicks. But now with the platform, and if they go down the avenue onto the next tax in
yeah,
the future, that's that's going to be much more time. If you start looking at self-assessment payments on account, my
oh yeah,
1st of
definitely.
January and my 1st of July, sitting there going through. And for bigger practices, like you're saying, they're getting a junior to go through and do that. It's going to be more than mine, because I'm still a small practice. If the bigger
Yeah,
practices are
large
using
volume.
this, you're talking a day or so of
Yeah,
a junior's time going through. And then directors are still probably getting those calls of how much is due, when, even though the emails are probably going through,
gone
if
out.
they're
Yeah,
automated or not, you're still going to get the, I can't afford to pay it, how do I arrange a time to pay? So for me, it's a few hours now. It is going to be more. And then for bigger practices than me, it's going to be
it's gonna be huge.
quite sizable. I, I don't think we necessarily log that time that the clients are asking us about their liabilities and the date,
Never
the
is.
due
It's
date.
not something that's like properly tracked, right?
No.
Well, maybe bigger firms do. They, add, I don't know, 6 minutes, whatever, the zero point 0.1 of an hour down
Oh, I
to
miss
every
those
client.
days.
Yeah, but I think the fact is that because the platform's really priced, it's one of those that it's a no-brainer from that perspective, but also it's a horrible job to do, as you've said. Now, anyone to do it, it's not nice. You don't feel like you're giving value. You're just telling them something that's mechanical.
Yeah,
And when you've got resourcing as a change throughout the entire of the UK for accounting anyway, we want to, where we can, utilize tech to replace the mundane inside our practice, and that's a simple way to do it. And you mentioned personal tax, and I
yeah,
would be absolutely shocked if OpenTax don't solve that issue, because um, obviously they're working through ones, and VAT was a sensible one to do first because it's a newer
yeah,
platform, easier to integrate into. But they've
yeah.
shown they can do it with the more uh, old school elements of HMRC.
It's a nice way of
Um,
putting it.
yeah, exactly, with PAYE. So I'd be absolutely shocked if they don't come in with the personal tax. I'm sure there's complications around that about presenting it, because they've been focused on
Yeah,
businesses now. This is kind of more individual based. So I'm sure there's nuances and things they need to build out. But yeah, I think that I would expect that to come down the pipeline.
I think just having the alerts to go out in the first week of July to be like,
Yeah.
remember this, because that's the pain point for me, is going through at that point in time and saying, everyone knows the January, people, but clients get confused about the July. No matter how many times you explain the payment on account system to them, a lot of my clients are like, well, I need to pay
Mm.
again. And that, because they don't want to do it, it goes to the back of their mind and they just forget. And I do find a lot of people still don't know their logins. They don't, the letters are hit and miss, whether they get them or
Yep.
not. So actually having this reminder, automated reminder, that's not a junior senior or partner going through and actually physically sending them, yeah, it's going to save time and it's going to be more beneficial for our clients.
Yeah, so you've got the visibility, you've got the prompts for automation. And as I said, I think there's going to be further things that come down the line, such as I'll be very surprised if it doesn't enable them to make the payments directly
Yeah,
through the system.
yeah,
So I guess the one thing that we've tried to tap into is the time saving, cost saving. But from your perspective, apart from the headaches it resolves, is there any other benefits? You said about clients reaching out from this, using it as a
yeah.
trigger point to ask more questions about the tax liability, maybe ways to potentially save it. Have you found a way that it prompts those more advisory based discussions? Just because it's not something you need to touch, but it's being proactive on your behalf to a client. Does it create
Yeah,
additional work for you?
yeah, for a few, it has made them more, it has given them more of an understanding. I find a lot of the clients that have VAT, PAYE and corporation tax, because they're not sure of their due dates, they're not sure exactly what it is, and the money and the cash flow that they have to put aside. I'm having more conversations about tax pots, and some people wanting corporation tax pot, a VAT pot, sometimes a PAYE pot, but that's too regular. So we're talking about putting the money aside in advance more. Can
Yep.
we afford to do that? Can we do it real time? So your actual corporation tax for that month profit, can we put that aside as well as the 20% VAT? So I'm having more cash flow conversations with people. And I definitely know with one client who does really look at this now, we're looking at doing forecasts for them using another provider. So it's gradually getting there. And people are thinking more, and I'm probably more on them because I can see in red overdue, 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 overdue.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
have you got payment plans in place? Rather than actually just leaving it. Because now that I've got an office, so I moved into an office a couple of months ago, I've now offered registered office services. So I'm getting those debt letters through where I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
just make that call, or you can do it through your own government gateway. Hopefully, through AdSum at some point, click on that link, do a payment plan in place. So, yeah, more on the cash flow forecasting side, I'm seeing that we're having more conversations as clients tend to want to make sure they're getting ahead of the game. Have actually spoken to AdSum and said, wouldn't it be great if you could project as well?
Yeah.
In the sense of, and I don't know whether, again, crystal ball, could you also link into the software and project a
Something that's
corporation
potentially
tax?
possible, right? Yeah.
Again,
I
I
mean,
just go off. I'm like, well, what else can we do? Because having that corporation tax estimate, and I know, like Free Agent does it, where it says it in the bottom corner on the tax timeline. Having something like that within it
would be amazing, right? So
would be
there was
amazing.
timely you brought that up, Amy, because I was
Oh
on
right,
LinkedIn yesterday. Oh no, because I was on LinkedIn yesterday, and someone posted something that said, look, they were fed up in the fact that they kept getting asked what their corporation tax
I
estimate
saw
was.
it.
They,
Yeah,
yeah, there you go. They put forward and created a tool, and I said, look, you two, you should collaborate because this makes
yeah,
perfect sense, right? So hopefully that is something that down the road will be either in the product or a collaboration and
yeah,
redirection between two different products. So exciting times on that side.
yeah.
So look, I want to ask the question because I'm always interested. You
Okay,
alluded to a forecasting tool you use. We can talk about any tech on here. So what is the
okay.
forecasting tool you use for your
So predominantly
operations?
my clients are on QuickBooks, so I've linked with Fathom.
Okay,
Uh,
cool.
I found a couple of years ago when I looked at the product, it was the only one that really did the three-way very well at that time. I'm not saying now. Um,
Yeah,
P&L, balance sheet, cash flow forecast, all in one. So the forecasting side of things, I'm using it for with my clients, and it was the consolidation of multiple different clients. So that's
yeah,
initially what I've used it for. And now I'm used to it. I then use that product for other clients, get the feed in, and I just find it easy to change as
It's
required
a
a lot
great
easier.
user interface, isn't it, at Fathom?
Yeah.
I'm a massive fan and advocate of Fathom
Oh,
because
good.
it's pretty. It's really nice to
Mm,
work with, and it does the when they released forecasting, they really thought it out, and the scenario planning, the micro forecasts are great little tools in there.
yeah.
And the only thing that I find with it, because I love it so much, I try and bring it in for bigger clients. And the only bit that ever frustrates me is the fact they don't have departmental forecasting inside the system. So I've got my fingers crossed that at some point they'll bring that out and close the gap on everything
They're
that I need to do
listening.
with
Clearly,
clients.
they're listening. They're gonna have a
Hopefully.
look.
But let's go back to the add some product, the OpenTax product. I mean, is there, for anyone that is listening, is there any one final takeaway that you could give that you think would would help, well, convince them that actually this is a product they should use?
And I think if you are incredibly frustrated with the HMRC agent access and the clicks, and they're having to find things and scroll down and going around, it has everything in one place. You can filter it all. And I think having the client portal is the game changer. So they can
Yeah.
see it easily themselves, um, reducing the time that they're bugging you about it.
Definitely. And I pride myself on being kind of independent on software. I've got ones I love. I generally work with Zero, generally work with the likes of Fathom. But in this space, in solving this particular problem, I don't think there is anyone else like out there like OpenTax. And it's such a niche, specific, massive headache for accountants
Mhm.
that I feel if you don't at least have a conversation with OpenTax and find out would this work for you, I think you've been insane, really, like as an accountant, because it one of the biggest headaches that every accountant moans about is interaction with HMRC. Any ability to reduce that surely is a big win.
Exactly, exactly. I think it's one of those things that it happens. Your clients contact you so often about their payments and that you feel like it's just part of your
It is.
being is constantly telling clients what it is. And actually, when you sit and think about, everyone needs to sit and think about how long it's taking them, and then it is a no-brainer to get this
Yep,
because it will just save you time.
indeed. Look, thank you so much, Amy, for coming on, talking us
Thanks for
through
having me.
what they're doing at OpenTax, the release on corporation tax, and even speculating on what may come down the path. Like, if anyone that's listening has enjoyed this, please do subscribe to our newsletter where you get the information on any of the relevant news in the accounting tech space as soon as possible. And also, if you want to hear us in the podcast group, myself, John Toon, and Indy Tatler dive into, analyze, critique any of these releases. Are they good? Are they bad? What is the actual tangible effect? Please do listen into the podcast and tune in next week where we'll dive into another software release and how it has affected or will affect the accounting industry.